So I've been getting a lot of comments asking about how I go about creating code nodes if you don't have any technical or coding experience background. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how I go about using code nodes in my workflows for voice AI agents. And it's probably useful to know that I myself do not have a technical background. I do not know how to code. And yet I'm able to create workflows like this, for example, which, as you can see, rely quite heavily on various different code nodes. So I thought the best way to do this would be to just walk you through live how I go about creating code nodes and how to debug them and then integrate them into your AI voice agent systems. So we're just going to start off in NA10, okay, really basic setup. So for the first example, what we're going to build is a code node that's going to take an address, like a home address, transcription from VAPI that's going to be quite messy. And we're going to build a code node that's going to take that and kind of clean up the address, normalize it, so that we could then use it to plug it into various APIs or send that on to like sales reps, for example, making sure that we have the correct address. So I've just set up a bit of a demo agent on VAPI, okay, a really simple prompt. All we want to do is get the prompt to ask for our address, and then it's going to call a tool called the check address tool, which I've created. So it's basically just going to pass on the address that we've come up with into the backend that we're going to build out now. So now let's build the code node together and the backend on NA10. So I'm going to show you how I go about building something with a code node with someone who has no idea how to code. Okay, so what we want to do for this example, like I said, is we want to take the messy transcribed address and we want to run it through a code node that's then going to clean it up and reformat it in a clean and concise way that we can then pass on. Okay, so really simple. So I'm going to go ahead and create the code node, okay? So we want to make sure it's in JavaScript. Okay, now we're going to go, you might have guessed by now that we're going to be using an LLM, okay? So in this case, because we're not doing anything crazy, we're not building a custom app, we're not coding a whole website, it's just a node. In my opinion, the model doesn't matter as much. So a lot of you might be thinking, oh, for coding tools, then we should be using Claude. But actually, for a simple use case like this, I think ChatGPT is fine, and they've recently just upgraded to 5.2. So that'll be interesting to test. I think Gemini 3 has lit a fire up under their ass a little bit. We're going to write a prompt, basically asking it to write the code node for us. So I'm going to just explain what I want it to do. Okay, so I've just quickly written up this really simple prompt as a bit of a starter. So I've just said I'm building an address validation step in NA10 using a code node. Basically, a VAPI voice agent is going to send over the address, that has been transcribed, but it will be messy due to transcription. I would like you to write a code node in JavaScript that I can put into my NA10 code node as part of the workflow, which is going to take the messy transcribed address and output a clean formatted address. As an idea, here is the tool call that we're sending over. So what I'm just going to do is give it access to the tool that we've made, okay? So just as an idea, this is the tool call that we've created. So it's just got the city, the zip code, the state. So making sure that ChatGPT knows what we're sending over will just help contextualize what we're trying to do here. So I'm just going to paste this in. I want to start with that. I want to see what it comes up with, and then we'll give it a test and see how well it did. Oftentimes, using this sort of process, it doesn't work the first time, and then we can go back and forth with ChatGPT to kind of debug it. So if that happens, then we can kind of go through how we would go about debugging. But we'll just see how this works to begin with. Okay, so ChatGPT has come back with some code for us to try out. You can see it's quite lengthy. We're just going to, I'm not going to read into this too much. I'm just going to test this out. So let's come into our NA10. Let's paste this in here and save. We would obviously normally have a respond to webhook, but we'll just test this as is for now. So I'm just going to make this live. So I've already linked this to my VAPI agent. So we're going to come back to the assistance So I've got a bit of an example address here that we're just going to test it out with. So it's just a random address in the US. So let's just see what happens. So
To check if we can help with your renovation, what's the full address of the property?
it's 705 Wright Court, Seattle, Washington, 98101.
Thank you for providing the address. I'm checking the details now.
Okay, so let's see what happened there. Now there was an error in the webhook. Okay, okay, so we need to respond to webhook. That's fine. So I thought for demo purposes this would be fine, but obviously it needs the return to webhook to even go through. So what I'm going to do is come back to ChatGPT and I'm going to ask it for some JSON for the respond to webhook node. So really simple prompt. Again, it might not work the first time, but that's fine. We'll see how we go. So it's given us a few options. We'll just go with the really simple one. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just paste in as an expression. Okay. Okay, let's see how this goes. Let's save this. So let's try again and see what happens.
To check if we can help with your renovation, what's the full address of the property?
It's 705 Wright Court, Seattle, Washington, 98101.
I want to make sure I captured that correctly. Could you please repeat the postal code?
98101.
Thank you for your patience. I've checked the app.
Okay, so we'll just end it there. So, kind of annoying that it asks us to to repeat, but that's fine. Let's see. Okay, so we had a successful execution, so that's good. So let's have a look at what this code node outputted. So we've extracted the right information, but then the cleaned address doesn't seem to be working. So what we'll do in this case is try and debug this. Now, what I love about N10 is that you can actually download the code of the workflow for a specific execution. So if you come to the execution and you copy this to the editor, what you can do is download this, and we're basically going to plug it into ChatGPT. Okay, so all I've done here is I've plugged in the JSON that we've downloaded from the N10 workflow. And then I've just said something really simple. So, okay, I tested it. The output didn't seem to work. The cleaned address fields were all empty. Please read through the N10 workflow code and come up with a hypothesis as to why this is happening. And then please provide full copy, paste, and replace solutions. So what it's going to do now is basically read through all of the code, the JSON from the N10 workflow, which includes the execution that failed. So it can see exactly what's happening, exactly why it's failing, and it helps it to kind of diagnose what the issue is. So this is a really powerful tool for debugging because when you're making code nodes using LLMs like ChatGPT, they usually don't work the first time. Like it's very common for it not to work the first time. So this back and forth is a skill that you need to learn how to do in order to create systems, including code nodes, if you don't know how to code. Okay, so while I was yapping on there, we've already got an answer, so let's see what it had to say. Okay, so it looks like there was a mismatch from the code node compared to the tool that we're sending over, which is what I'm understanding from here. So it's given us a solution to basically replace the code. It's still just writing this out here. Okay, and then it's also given us a solution for the response to webhook. Okay, so let's replace the code. Okay. And what we can actually do here is because we already have the VAPI data from the last calls, we can just execute this and see if this has made a difference. So yeah, so straight away, we've got the old data from that test we just did pinned, and so we could just execute this with the new code that we've just put in, and we can see that the cleaned address now has all of the input, which is fantastic, so that's good. And then if we execute the respond to webhook, I know it suggested a fix, but yeah, I mean, you can see everything is working fine. Now, obviously, what we've done here is we haven't included like the street name. So what we could do actually is just ask it, okay, this is good, but we need the street name. That's quite important because right now we just have the city, state, and the zip code. So what I'm going to do is go back to ChatGPT and just ask it to do that. So, okay, so I've just asked it to include the address. I think it might be to do with the tool that we're sending over, because we don't have a parameter for like the address. So we might just need to adjust this tool as well. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say. Okay, so it's come back and just confirmed that yes, it's related to the fact that the tool that we're sending doesn't have a parameter for the street name. But it's basically given us a solution, so we'll copy paste this tool and we'll just update the check address tool that we've made. So let's paste this in. Let's apply and let's save this. Perfect. And let's see if it wanted to. Yep. Okay. So we're going to need to update the respond to webhook node. So let's come in here and do that. Interesting. Well, two things here. Firstly, invalid syntax, so that's not going to work. Secondly, ChatGPT does this quite a lot, where it provides answers for JSON with an equals in front. But the way NA10 works is it does this in the backend, so we actually need to delete the equal signs whenever they come up in the JSON, so just good to know. But obviously this is not working. So another option we can do instead of using ChatGPT for issues with like formatting JSON is you can execute the step like I've just done now. It will come up as invalid, and then you can actually ask the AI within NA10, the AI assistant that they've got inbuilt, and you can just click ask, and then it gives it all of the context. So let's see what it comes up with here. Okay, so it's given us a corrected expression, so let's go ahead and paste this in and see if this works. Okay, great. So you can see that the NA10 AI assistant is pretty useful. So what we're going to do, because we've updated the VAPI tool, is we're going to need to retest it on the VAPI end to get it to send the updated tool call. So let's just give this another go.
To check if we can help with your renovation, what's the full address of the property?
It's 705 Wright Court, Seattle, Washington, 98101.
Could you please repeat the street address? I want to make sure I have it correctly.
It's 705 Wright Court.
It seems that there was no result returned.
Okay, so that's fine. We're just testing the tool. So let's go back to NA10. So we got a success message. Let's see what actually happened here. So webhook, that's fine. Let's see what the code node did. Okay, so it's coming up empty again, which is annoying. Okay, so I've had a quick look. So basically what I think is happening here is the tool that it gave us, it only made the raw address compulsory and the others optional. So I think what's happened here is it sent the raw address, but it hasn't filled out any of the other parameters. And I think this is an agent, a VAPI agent issue. So I think there are two approaches. I think we could either change the agent or we could change the code so that it can extrapolate the information from the raw address, which I think is what I would prefer to do. So what I'm going to do again is copy this to the editor, unpin. We're going to download this and we're going to give it back to ChatGPT and just explain what we want. Okay, so I've sent it the code and I've just asked it to I basically just said that the agent only sent over the raw address, did not fill out any of the other parameters. Could you change the code node to extract the address from the raw address and format it cleanly? So we're not relying on the agent filling out the other sections. Again, I've asked it to read through the current N8N workflow code with the most recent test, and we'll see what it comes back with. Okay, so it's come back with a solution. So I'm going to just copy this and let's paste this in our code node. Okay, now again, we still have this data pinned. So I'm just going to run this step and see what happens. Okay, perfect. So you can see that even with the same data, now that we've changed the code node, we can see that it's filled out all of the fields. We're just going to run this as well and see what happens. Okay, fantastic. So let's just recap what's happened here. So we've taken this messy transcribed data, so you can see that it's got all the spaces. To be fair, the other stuff it transcribed pretty well, but then you can see the zip code has all these spaces as well. So if we were going to pass these on to, say, like a Google Maps API, this is going to cause issues. So we passed it through a code node to basically clean up the data, which is done really nicely, and it's formatted it in a nice, clean, concise way, even with a state code now as well. And then we've gone ahead and passed that information back onto the VAPI agent. So again, I know this is like a simple use case, but I hope that kind of gave you an idea of how to approach creating workflows that include code nodes if you don't know how to code or you don't have a technical background. So you can see there's quite a lot of back and forth there with ChatGPT to kind of debug and make adjustments because there were certain things it wasn't doing correctly. But that is the process. That is literally how you build out these systems that are robust and that work well. Is you're gonna run into problems where things are going to fail, there's going to be errors, and you need to know how to debug them and go about fixing them. So I hope that was really valuable. I know this is quite niche, but for those of you who are serious about building voice agents, I hope this was valuable.